economist and wealth advisor. Welcome to the programme. Right, how bad is it then? What's the damage?
You ain't seen nothing yet, as John Wayne might have said. If you take, for example, the price of a barrel of oil on the global stage, a year and a half, oil was under $20 a barrel. It's now over $80 a barrel. And oil is the biggest input to the cost of living. We need it for growing food. We need it for transportation. We need it for distribution. We need it for plastics. These glasses, you name it, everything is made of oil, polyester. So oil is going to rise for years. And it's not just oil, it's gas prices, home energy prices, food prices, transportation, you name it. We are now in an era of rising and rising inflation, something which essentially the public there largely have confirmed that they've never been in inflation before, although a couple of guys clearly understand where we are and where we're going. And one of the chaps said, and I agree entirely, we're heading back to the 1970s over the next few or several years, and inflation is going to be really, really hard, and people's standards of living are going to fall markedly.
So is there anything that people can do? Because, of course, they can't control prices going up, and average household bills have increased by 30%. Do people just have to suck it up and accept that this is the year that we'll be facing?
Well, it's not just a year. I'm afraid to say I believe this will continue for a generation, as it did from the late 1940s to the late 1970s. As far as I can see, the only thing that people can do, other than, of course, continue to be clever shoppers and continue to try and get the best prices, as we've done forever, is people have to invest in their pensions and their ISAs in a way that meets the investment challenge. So they have to invest in, for example, to go on to continue what I was saying earlier, they have to invest in oil and gas companies, which are likely going to rise in value many-fold over the next 5 years.
Now, what our viewers really care about is what it looks like when they open their wallet, right? Is there more money in there? Is there less money in there? How badly hit, if it's possible for you to say, or I know it's probably a bit speculation, but how badly hit is your average man and woman going to be financially?
Well, actually, Patrick, I wrote about this just a couple of weeks ago. My expectation is that Mr. and Mrs. Miggins, you know, the average couple on the street, unfortunately, their standard of living is going to fall by 20% over the next 4 or 5 years.
Fall any lower.
So that's it in a nutshell. And then add on another 5 years onto that, and then another 10 years onto that.
Gosh, I tell you what, if my standard of living fell by 20%, I'd literally be living in a pigsty. I actually seriously would. I can't sink any lower, you know. But okay, all right. So not great news for Mr. and Mrs. Miggins, as you were saying there. And look, how do we get out of this then? Come on, just solve it for us. I can't be doing with my standard of living dropping 20%. Get us out of this crisis. What do we do?
Well, the government needs, because this is all government and Bank of England created. It doesn't happen automatically. Inflation is created by politicians and bureaucrats. So the government needs to drastically reduce spending. It needs to curtail its profligate spending, and that would take the government slightly out of the economy, giving a chance for private sector to take over. Private sector is generally more deflationary. Government is generally more inflationary. The Bank of England needs to raise interest rates, which of course it won't. And also, we have to get away from the con artists in the climate change lobby who have basically told, going back to oil and gas again, the oil and gas companies for the last 10 years to stop looking for oil and producing it. So we now have a deficit of oil and gas supply. That's the reason why energy costs are soaring, because there isn't enough oil and gas being supplied. If we got more oil and gas, the oil and gas would fall. Inflation would fall.
Okay, all right. right, good stuff. Well, look, thank you very, very much for that, Jonathan Davies there. Of course, filling you in on, well, I suppose it's quite a bleak picture, really, but I understand now that Aldi has been named